All right, it looks like we're live. Good evening, everyone, or afternoon or morning, wherever you may be. A lot of you here already. Cupid Stunt is here from Warrington. Music Lover Forever. Evola's Sunglasses, BP. Yeah, Billy is a little bit, he's moving around a little bit. I might have to put him down on the floor. He seems to want to go down. Belly Dance Arabia says Happy Father's Day. Yep, it is Father's Day. Taters Mist. Hi, Taters Mist. Alain Roy from Montreal in Quebec. Rick and Fed. El Tomos. Yeah, tomorrow is my wife's birthday, Graham Hobbs. We went out for lunch today with my wife and a few friends. We had a nice lunch. Gordon D from Ottawa. Echo Echo. Conor McGregor. Norbert from Belgium. Today, no bus, but here for the show. So yeah, the title of the live stream tonight is the free market is the only solution to our monetary woes. Yeah, and yeah, we'll go a little bit into that at the top of the hour. Wait for everyone to come on. And yeah, it's really simple, I think, but unfortunately, the majority of people don't understand what real money is. And we've been, as society, hoodwinked by the bankers and the politicians. But I think the US Constitution is a good place to look at, you know, the Coinage Act and how that works. What about cryptos as well? We might want to touch into that. Crypto is supposed to be an alternative to government money, but yeah, we'll look into it. And I'm going to refer a book that a lot of you probably know already, but some of you might not know, which I think is really good to learn about money. BP is here. Cozy Fantuti, good evening. Anton Spowy from Bratislava, Slovakia. Olivier Leroy from France. Thunderstorms in Paris. Well, we had him here an hour or two ago, so it's probably coming from England, from Britain. We had a lot of rain this afternoon. It's cooled down though. Marek Kalenda. Hi, Marek. Over here, I feel like we are living through a conglomeration of low budget sci-fi movies. All we're missing are the aliens. I expect them to show up any day now. Yeah, I've heard talks about that. I'm not too convinced whether it's for real, but they can manufacture things, can't they? Thank you, Altomos. Yeah, we had a nice afternoon. Belly Dance Radio, like this morning's video. Yeah, I did a video this morning because I didn't do one yesterday. So there you go. BP, have we ever lived in a true free market system? I guess, you know, there are degrees of free market. Of course, during the Soviet Union, it wasn't free. Prior to, I guess, between the end of the Civil War and 1913 in the US is relatively free. But just because we don't have a pure free market doesn't mean to say we shouldn't really strive for it. And all a free market is a small government allowing free individuals to interact with each other freely, and allowing people to decide what they, you know, want to exchange with other people without someone telling them whether they can or cannot. It's people learning the hard way, because if you interact commercially with someone and the deal is no good, at least you know next time I'm not going to deal with that person. And I think that's the best way to do it. Nettie New Hawk from London Escape. Hello, Mary from London Escape. Pablo Pina's here. Honig TM is here. No. He says he's got to go to work in an hour. Still busy picking potatoes. Yeah, potato season, huh? That's good. At least it's something real. No. Blast from the past. Hi, Mara and Billy from Utah. Billy has birthday next month. Yeah, 7th of July. He'll be 14. Yeah, it's a bit cooler here today, and it was yesterday afternoon. It cooled down, which is nice because it was very hot. Love button LGX2 is here. Will we ever learn who Satoshi Nakamoto is? Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I was always a little bit skeptical about Bitcoin. I know the white paper is supposed to be foolproof, but it would have been nice to know who really came up with it. There you go. Billy is a little bit, I don't know what, we'll see. I might have to put him down on the floor. Note says his grandfather lived in a free market system, but he was born in 1886. Yeah, the other thing that people forget, prior to 1900, around the time of No's granddad, if you wanted to travel around the world and you had the money to do it, you didn't really need a passport. A passport is something really also that I'm totally against. It was used more during times of war so that people could travel around the war zones. And then, always with crisis, they increase the use of things that are draconian. So I also think that people should be able to move wherever they want. You should be free to go without a passport, as long as you can pay your way around the world, so to speak. LGX2, what do you think are derailing the trains, killing the livestock, and burning down food factories? Seems like Operation Gladio type stuff. Yeah, LXG2, I've seen, heard of these stories, and I don't know, to tell you the truth. The livestock seems very suspicious. These people they have a lot of weapons, a lot of power. So never underestimate them. Yeah, I think we are in a controlled demolition of the economy. And it doesn't really matter whether it's, I guess it could be, you could say it's accidental or not. You could say it's on purpose. But one thing we do know, I think, is that, yeah, things are going to get tougher, especially if you're in a lot of debt and you hold a lot of fiat currency. I'm just going to put Billy down a little bit because I don't think he's too happy there. Come say hello to everyone first. Say hello, Billy. There you go. Hi, guys. Let's put him down now. There you go. Any golf this weekend? Conor McGregor asks. I played on Friday, actually, Friday afternoon, and I played quite well. I think I was 7 over par. It was really hot. I was five over on the front, And then on the back nine, I played quite well, but I was really struggling on the back nine. It was so hot, but for some reason I played quite well. I scored well. I didn't hit the ball well, but I'm playing again on Tuesday. I didn't play this weekend because had a couple of birthdays in the house here, household, my daughter and my wife. So just had to give it a break from golf. Family comes first. Over here it says, Mario, you believe in open borders. No, I didn't say I believe in open borders. I just say people should be able to travel wherever they want if they have the wherewithal. The problem nowadays is there's so much government welfare states, welfare state in some countries give, it's not a free market. Back in the 1800s, if people went to the US, there wasn't any of the help or support. All I'm saying, I think a passport is a really bad document. I don't know, but doesn't mean to say the problem nowadays is that you got welfare state arbitrage. If most countries were very small government, it wouldn't matter. People wouldn't try to arbitrage the welfare state. They would go somewhere because they would want opportunity. And yeah, that's how I see it. Carlos Garcia, good evening. Happy Father's Day, and everyone. We are alive. T. Materi, thank you for your super chat. Do you think discretionary assets will become cheaper in the next 6 months? Do you mean goods as well? Like I guess things that you don't need, day to day, basic necessities. Yes, I do think so. Because even though I think the currency is going to continue to buy a lot less of basic necessities, commodities, fuel, some assets are going to deflate in price. So it's going to be the worst of both worlds. You're going to get, yeah, it's going to be some, I do think so, T. Joe Lahote, are you watching the US Open? I looked a little bit before I came on live. I will watch it after the live stream. I'm not watching it now because I need to concentrate on the live stream. But it's not the end of the world if I don't get. I think I will probably be able to watch the last hour and a half or so, and that's what matters. The US Open really starts on the back nine, right? On Sunday. So this is the book I wanted to recommend about money. What has government done to our money? The Case for 100% Gold Dollar, Murray Rothbard. And yeah, so you can get a free PDF online if you Google, or you can buy the book from the Mises Institute. You might be able to buy it on Amazon as well. But one of the things from reading this book that you learn about money is that it can be anything. And according to the Austrian school, of which Rothbard was a disciple of or a member of, money was not created by government. People think that government is invented money, but no, money came about from trial and error. It evolved from when people used to exchange through barter. They found that there were some commodities that were the most marketable one that everyone wanted, and that's how money evolved. And yeah, and that's why I think cryptocurrencies, they have the right idea. But unfortunately, right now, for example, it's become such a huge bubble, the whole space, that it's going to hurt cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And do I believe Bitcoin is finished? I don't know. It'll all depend in the free market, whether people choose Bitcoin or whatever other cryptocurrency it will be, or if they choose gold and silver. I personally choose gold and silver because I think they have the track record, but I'm open-minded. So let's answer another question here. Dissident Agnostic, thank you for your super chat. Do you buy East India Company silver? I have a few coins, East India Company coins from India. I think it's a rupee from the 1800s, of course. I think it's before 1840, but I don't buy it. I have one or two maybe. They're good, you know. I think they're sterling silver. So there you go. That's I guess a private money. The way though the United States worked out the money problem, because money, I have to say, is a difficult subject because money is a very good tool, an instrument for society, because it helps people specialize, it helps people store their efforts, but it can also be abused. So I don't think it's something easy, but we have to try to understand it better. In the Constitution, I think the founding fathers knew that, and that's why they have the Coinage Act. And what I like about the US Constitution is that, for example, you can take some silver that you mined or you found somewhere, or your jewelry, you can take it to the mint, and the US Mint, which is a government institution, they'll mint it for you for a small fee. I think they'll take maybe 1% of your silver, and they'll mint you a silver dollar or a $50, a quarter, or how many dimes you want. And I think that's a good thing. But then you need to trust government, right? You need to trust the mint, and that's what it was supposed to be. And you can still have a free market in money and a mint. So let's say I took this 100-ounce or 50-ounce silver bar to the US Mint. They would probably mint about 100 silver dollars for me or something like that. I think it's a little less than that. I think it's 0.72 of an ounce. So how many could I get? Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's what I think the purpose of government should be in terms of money. They could provide a mint, or you could have private mints too. So, and I think even prior to the Civil War, for example, in the US, people accepted gold and silver coins from other countries. It didn't matter where it was from, as long as it was gold and silver. So unfortunately, yeah, we need government to become smaller and more honest. And I know that's a pipe dream right now, but it doesn't mean that we can't talk about it and aspire to it. The more and more people understand these things, I think the more towards that path we can go. Gurvandeep Singh, thank you for your super chat. He says, why precious metals are not moving in this environment, holding 15,000 ounces of silver over 4 years, testing patience for sure. Well, yeah, I mean, if you go back to 2020, silver dropped to just under $12, and then it went very quickly up to 30. And since then, it's been languishing between 28 and let's say 21. It has been frustrating. Gold went from 1,400, the low in March 2020, all the way to almost 2,100 in a matter of months. And it's been doing the same thing, consolidating between, let's say, 1,750 and 2,000. But this year, though, gold has shown, for example, and I'm going to come to silver in a minute, that in times of turmoil that we're having now, because in the past, when the stock market was correcting as much as it is now downwards, bonds would be going up. But now both stocks and bonds are going down. They're down double digits percentage wise. And yet silver is probably down maybe 4 or 5%, which isn't great, but it's outperformed stocks and bonds. And gold is up about 3%. And Deep, I just think it's there is a little bit of manipulation going on, but over the long term, gold and silver, I think will continue to do well because the central bankers and governments, they've got two options. They can let everything implode, which they could do, or they could inflate everything again. And either way, you still want to have physical, real money, even when there's a deflationary collapse and a lot of bankruptcies, because holding this, there's no counterparty risk. If you leave money in the bank, most people think that in the 1929 crash and the Great Depression that ensued, most people lost their money in the stock market, but it's not true. The majority of people that lost a lot of fortunes and went broke in the Great Depression were people who had a lot of money in the bank, because a lot of banks failed and closed their doors. So if you had your money outside the bank, and at that time, money was gold, right? If you had it outside the bank, you would have been okay. I know they confiscated it, but if you had your silver with you, you would have been okay. I hope that helps you answer your question, Deep. BP, I read a book on commercial real estate saying that when the market crashed, the sophisticated players were wiped out and all that was left was cashed up amateurs. Is that during the Great Depression? Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about the real estate back then, but I think I heard something that the real estate market was so bad that people were in Connecticut destroying homes, like basically destroying homes so they wouldn't have to pay real estate tax, and you couldn't sell houses for even $1 because there's no money around. A lot of the banks failed, and all the money that people had in the banks went, and that was a deflationary collapse. Mario, what is Thomas Saylor saying now? What is his Bitcoin defense? Never heard of Thomas Saylor, sorry. Oh, the drawback says Michael Saylor. I mean, the only thing I know about this guy is that he used to work for the DuPonts. So that's a little bit of a red flag. And last year, he was telling people to sell everything, mortgage everything, and buy Bitcoin. I think the guy is actually crazy. I talk about gold and silver, but I don't tell people to do anything, and certainly I don't tell people to borrow to acquire precious metals. I mean, I think the right way to do it is to run a tight economic fiscal ship in your household and be able to acquire, to get some savings. And then when you get savings, you get out of debt, you start stacking. That's the way I see it. So, yeah. Pablo, if you had the power, how would you conduct us all into a free market, knowing how big government? I'm not too sure I understand that question. Yeah, that's the thing about the free market. You don't conduct people, you let people decide for themselves. That's one thing I would say. I agree with Ringo Dog, what he said there about government. Music Lover Forever, Shell and Norwegian state-owned company withdrawing from North Sea development due to windfall taxes. Do you agree that state intervention always stifles private productivity? Of course. Of course I do. But yeah, and I know that it's the Norwegian state-owned oil company, but in this case, it's because the government in the UK is going to tax oil companies. It's ironic that it's a state-owned one. But yeah, I don't agree with state ownership of any business, really. I think the state should be minimal, and it should be there just to protect property, individuals, and yeah, administer the rule of law, maybe the defense of the realm or the country, if you want to call it that. Yeah, I saw that story about the Norwegian. And I think it's one of the reasons why the British pound has dropped so much in the last month or so, because the government, foreign investors are seeing that the UK government wants to tax big business. So why would they want to keep their, why would they want to invest here if their investments are in danger of being taxed? Yeah, taxed, extra tax. They call it, I don't know, they call it unfair profits. I mean, how can a profit be unfair? I don't understand. And the reason why as well the oil companies are doing well is because of the currencies collapsing. And oil producers want more for their real goods. And a lot of the price of diesel or petrol here in the UK, a lot of it is just tax. Silver Sonic, thank you for your super chat. It seems EU is being set up to be blamed for coming crisis. Do you agree? Other central banks raising rates. Ray Dalio has 7 billion short bet on Europe too. I think the problem with the EU is that the euro is a currency that probably should never have been put together. Maybe Germany, Netherlands, and Finland, and maybe France could have formed the euro, but Italy, Greece, and Spain and Portugal, that's the whole problem. And yeah, and the Italian central bank or the Spanish, they can't print anymore. They can't print euros, and that's the whole problem. And they've kept rates so low. And also in the 2012 sovereign debt crisis, that never went away. They just kicked that can down the road. But what would happen would be the euro would disintegrate, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. European countries would probably go back to their old currencies. If someone has a lot of euros, I would say as an investor, the best thing to do if you want to stay in paper, aside from owning gold and silver, would be to buy German government bonds or Dutch state loans, because if ever the euro went away, those bonds, German and Dutch bonds, would be denominated in their currency. So that's one way to avoid that. Bob Hunter, thank you for your generous super chat. Matt Bittner, have you of any countries building any small nuclear reactors? It sounds like the smaller reactors have shorter construction. Sorry, I don't really understand that question. Have your of any countries building any? I don't really follow too much the nuclear industry, the nuclear reactors. Pablo Pina, Mary, what steps would you apply to transition the current system into a free market? You wouldn't need steps. All you need to do is get government out of everything. That's how you do it. I mean, yeah, in the US, they already have everything set up in the Constitution. You can take your silver or your gold, and they'll mint it into coins. You have to get, I mean, you have to transition. I mean, Ron Paul talked about that because, people are used to big government. So you have to wean off. Maybe the old elderly people depend a lot, Social Security and stuff. And I know that those were paid in, but you just phase it off, and eventually younger people will have to. Yeah, and I think it's better for them, to be more responsible. So that's how you do it. I haven't really designed or looked at how to do it, but I just think it's the best way to go. It will be painful, but yeah, we have to, I guess, elect politicians that believe in that. We need thousands of Ron Pauls, I would say. Steve Ross Holmes, thank you for your super chat. Why does Petrobras have such a high dividend? Is it sustainable? What is the catch? Well, if you look at Petrobras, it's 64% owned by the Brazilian state and 36% by private investors. And there's a lot of speculation that they could eventually privatize it. I think privatization would be a lot better for Petrobras. The reason why I think they have a high dividend is that it's a way for the government to take in revenue, because they have 64% of the shares. So they get like 64% of the dividends, and that's why they probably have such a high dividend. I think that's the catch. But if they privatize Petrobras, I think that dividend will go down, the dividend yield, but I think the share price will go up because there would be more interest from foreign investors. So that's why I have a little bit of that stock. I haven't put, all my eggs into that basket, but it's nice. I think it's almost like 30% dividend right now, or 25. Bob Hunter, thank you for your super chat. Mario, when the World Economic Forum get their way and murder 80% of the population, what investments will be left other than your own inner soul, kindness, and generosity? I agree with you, Bob. And that's why I think it is important to to build a community, to have friends, and to be nice to each other. And that's one of the reasons why, I try not to get angry anymore about these things, because like you said, the only thing that will be left is your inner soul and your kindness. And I think they want to destroy that. And yeah, I think you're right. So there you go. But it doesn't mean to say that we can't look after ourselves in the meantime and hopefully even profit from it. But I hope you're wrong about that percentage. Scott 49 140. Did you hear Powell's latest press conference? He was basically blaming everyone but himself. He actually thought it was a good thing that people's lives are getting worse. Yeah, Powell is a fraud. He's a charlatan. The Federal Reserve, they market themselves as being the central bank for the United States, for the population. They're supposed to be running, a policy that will help full employment and price stability. But really, the Federal Reserve system is a tool of Wall Street, and it's there to help the top guys. I mean, where did Powell start his career? Well, on Wall Street. Dylan Reed, investment bank. That's where also Catherine Austin Fitts started out. And then he worked for the original private equity, the Carlyle Group, which is the deep state private equity. So the guy is a huge insider. He doesn't care about the public. And what they're doing now is they've pumped a lot of funny money into the economy. They're destroying the currency, and now they're saying that it's people wanting higher salaries that are just, that's inflationary. And it looks like they're going to pull the plug. And the economy isn't strong. What's strong is consumption, because if you look at, I think the trade deficit has gone up 40% in the last 2 years. So that means that Americans are not producing. All they're doing is spending, because the Fed printed the money out of thin air. Belly dance Arabia and the Fed and the BOE. Yeah, that would be good. Norm, is it hard to befriend neighbors because they're just looking out for themselves, at least in my neighborhood? I mean, one of my neighbors, they're a big family. They're really nice, but we don't really see each other. We don't go to their place, but we always talk to them. They're really nice. But I guess for me, I have some friends at the golf club. My wife has some friends as well. And it's just not a lot, but just the important ones. I think that's what you need to try to do. David Dalby, there's a new 1,520 gold coin as well. Yeah, I saw that. Someone sent me that, David. The thing is, the 1,000 pound coin is like 1,000 grams, which would be like 30 ounce, a 30-ounce coin. So I'm not sure where they're trying to play at, the mint with those coins. It's interesting. I haven't, someone sent me that today, and I haven't looked any further, but I did notice that the gold coin, the 1,000 pound gold coin, is like 1,000 grams. So 31 grams is an ounce. So it's about 30 ounces of gold, which, doesn't make sense because the ounce of gold is about 1,500 right now. So, but it's interesting. Maybe there will be some kind, and a 30-ounce gold coin is too big to circulate. Maybe it's more for savings. Who knows? Yashir Hassan, is the Japanese economy the first of the Keynesian economies to collapse and MMT? I definitely think, that the Japanese yen is in trouble, and you could be right. You could be right. It's a crazy monetary policy, and I've spoken about that. They're certainly the ones that have been doing QE for the longest. They've been doing it, I think, since 2000, maybe even before. BP, would inflation wipe out gains from high yield dividends? And if so, why invest in them? I guess it depends on which sector you invest in. Excuse me. I think if you invest in financials and technology, all the companies have been doing well, for the last 12 years, then you could get hurt. But let's say Petrobaz and other commodity stocks and miners, if commodities continue to go up, as I think, it shouldn't be a problem, because let's say you're getting 5% dividend, you're going to also be getting some capital gains, and you'll be owning a business, right? So while in the bond market, you get paid coupons, it's a dividend, coupon yield. But with inflation going up, people are going to be selling bonds because it's a debt. And dividends, you still own the company. Mr. Homegrown, Are we waiting to see what the Chinese housing market will do since it went under? I think we're already seeing, that the fact that the Chinese economy is slowing down, um, the fact that they're doing these lockdowns, I think it's because, things are not great in China. Lynn Grantham, yeah, the Swiss Central Bank, they've been buying a lot of FANG stocks, especially the Nasdaq heavy, the tech stocks. They have hundreds of billions of dollars, and they've been doing that because they've been doing a lot of QE to keep the Swiss franc from rising too quickly versus the euro. But now they raised rates last week by surprisingly the first time in 50 years, and they said they're going to start selling. They probably have a lot of losses on their holdings, even though they started buying quite a while ago. But the Swiss National Bank is a hybrid. It's owned by the cantons, which are the states in Switzerland, has some federal government ownership, but they also have a lot of private shareholders. And you can buy Swiss National Bank shares in the Swiss Stock Exchange. So there you go. Mr. Bozilla says, have you interviewed Richard Werner? No, I haven't. Yeah, he's got some interesting theories, or, I think he's quite an interesting guy. I haven't gotten in touch with him. Scott Poland, what do you think of Credit Suisse 9% yield unsecured bond offer last week? I didn't see they offered that, but I wouldn't be buying anything from a bank, especially unsecured, unless you want to speculate and you've got some spare cash that it's up to you, really. 9% is a very high yield, considering the Swiss National Bank interest rate is still negative, even though they raised it by 50 basis points. Silver Task is here. Hi, Silver Task. Neil Moy, what do you think Jerome Powell's typical day is? I have no idea. I have no idea what he's into aside from his job at the Fed. I guess he talks a lot on the phone to people like Jamie Dimon and the guy from BlackRock, people like that, and maybe to the other to the Fed presidents from the different regions. I guess that's what he does. Mr. Ashford, do you think U.S. Treasury market has been looking unstable lately? Yeah, definitely. And also all the other government bond markets, very, very volatile. And the other problem, and even the Fed and the Treasury have admitted, there's very little, the liquidity is drying up, even in treasuries. And with the Fed planning to unwind their balance sheets to sell treasuries, it's going to get even worse. So that's not a place I'd want to be in treasuries. Nanette Wilkins says, love your content, Mario. Bless you. Thank you. Have you read The Princes of the Yen? I think I watched the documentary. Yeah, it's a good one. Gavin says Billy was barking. No, it was a dog somewhere else. It wasn't Billy. He's fast asleep here on the floor. Fluke, do you have any thoughts on Highcroft Mining? I'm sorry, I haven't heard of Hycroft Mining, so I don't. I don't. I will be posting tomorrow. Probably after the stock market closes in the US, I'll be posting a promotional content, and I'm doing those now. Some people are not happy with it, but you don't have to watch it. And it's about a copper mining company, so which is an interesting one. It's a junior explorer. It's coming out at 9 p.m. London tomorrow. It's a paid promotion, as you call it. It's for informational purposes. So hopefully I'll do a few more of those, probably not more than once a month. But Hycroft Mining, I haven't heard. I will look at it. Over here, Mario, I patriotically hope that the defense industrial projects, black budget projects, have been developed and will be used to defend our country and our allies in the coming World War III. Well, I don't see why we need a World War III, but if we do get a World War III, I don't think it's going to be I don't think the outcome will be good for anyone around the world. William Ward, been watching your videos for a couple of years, been buying gold and silver about 5 years. Nicholas Martin, the book is better. I guess that's Princes of the Yen. Echo, have you seen Mervyn King's fairly recent interview on Sky News? Yeah, I did, and I even made a video where I talked about it, and I had clips of that interview. Uh, he knows what's coming, and I even did another video where I showed the viewers I've been corresponding with Mervyn King with his office, not him directly. His secretary replied. I gave him the opportunity to come on the channel, but she said he was too busy, and I think I sent him an email last year talking about the inflation, that something needed to be done, and that we could have like hyperinflation like in France in the 1790s. And I recommended the book Fiat Money Inflation in France to him. And I got a reply from his secretary, and she thanked me. She said that Mervyn King liked the email and the suggestion. So there you go. Patrick O'Shea, what's your view on tin tuna? Well, I see that Robert, is it Kiyosaki? He's been recommending tin tuna. I like tuna. I don't know if we have any tin tuna in the kitchen, in the cupboards. And I like to mix it with mayonnaise and ketchup to do like a tuna fish sandwich with Swiss cheese. But it's probably something okay to have, at 3-year shelf life. And I guess it's not that bulky. I mean, you can buy quite a few cans and put it somewhere. Steve Wojtais, why is the US dollar so strong? Well, strong against what, Steve? It's been losing value versus most commodities. It's down versus gold this year. It's only strong against other crappy fiat currencies. So they're all sinking. I've been saying that for 15 years, even before I started this channel. And I got proof of my articles that I wrote in 06 and 07. The dollar index is a distraction. Just to give you an idea, in 2006, gold was trading at $600 an ounce. The dollar index was around 85. Now it's about 103. And so you'd think that gold would be at $300, if the dollar's gone up so much, right? But no, gold is at almost 1900. So I think that's the other thing that people need to keep in mind is that the dollar is not strong, nor are the other currencies. And ultimately, the dollar will go down as well versus, well, it's already going down. You can, inflation and is currency debasement. If the dollar was really strong, people wouldn't be having a cost of living crisis in the US. So there you go. Swiss rate. Well, yeah, that's an insurance company, 8% yield. Uh, Matt Bittner, can you tell if Russia or Ukraine is winning? The news is, yeah, I don't watch the mainstream news for that subject. I watch Duran, the Duran on YouTube, and also Gonzalo Lira. I think they're more a better indication of what's happening there. There's also another YouTube channel. He's an English guy in Russia, young guy. He's really good too. Let me see. I forgot his the YouTube channel name. It's it's annoying when you forget these things. Oh, hold on. I think I can tell you. Yeah, let's see. He's married to a Russian. He lives in St. Petersburg. So it's I Earl Grey. I recommend that channel as well. If you want to know what's going on in that part of the world. I Earl Grey. And I think he subscribed to my channel. So yeah, I Earl Grey. There you go. Oh yeah, Normal Norm told, yeah, he's got that. Gonzalo Lira is funny. Yeah, he's a intelligent guy. I think he knows his stuff. Lynn Grantham, your opinion on gold royalty companies? Yeah, I mean, I heard a guy, I think he's the CEO of Wheaton Precious Metals, and they're called what's it called? They're kind of a royalty company, and he said that during inflationary times, royalty companies will do better because they're not exposed to the cost of producing bullion or gold and silver. So they're always going to get a profit, and it's not going to be diluted away from the increase in mining, the cost of mining. So it could be good to have some royalty. I think you can mix it up. Royalty companies, the major miners, the explorers, just a bit of each, I would say. Scott Poland, did you ever work on any swaps? You mean the derivatives? Um, Not really, not that much, because maybe because I did more exchange traded derivatives like futures and options, but I had colleagues who used to work in the swaps market, which is basically a derivatives market, but it's over the counter. We got about 15 minutes. BP, why do central banks suddenly decide to care about the economy and the people by raising interest rates when they never cared about it before? I think the problem is that the bond vigilantes are back out, and the market is saying, you've let prices rise too much, you inflated too much, and the CPI is going up by 10%, and we want more return on the bonds. And the problem is that the balance sheets of these central banks are up to here in these bonds. So they have to raise rates to stop the collapse of the bond market. How does that work? Well, if they raise rates enough, it might convince the bond investors that inflation is going to be under control. Say they'll stop selling those bonds, and I don't think they're going to be successful. The central banks, so they're not worried about the people. They're worried about their balance sheets. Ruby's 200. What economic system would you say Russia has adopted? Mises or Keynes? That's a good question because um, I, I I don't really know too much about the Russian economy, but I do know that they don't have that much debt in terms of the government, and that their taxation is like 13% across the board for everyone. It's like a one tax rate, which isn't that much, 13%. But so I don't think they're Keynesian in that sense. They don't want huge government, and but at the same time they have a lot of they interfere, I think, in big in sectors of the economy, and that's not Austrian. So it's a mix, really. It's not really a free market, but at the same time, I think the Russians care about the prosperity of the country. And while in the West, our leaders are bought and paid for by the big corporations, and I don't think that's uh, as true in Russia. So that's the best I can do there in terms of an answer. Bob Hunter, thank you for your super chat. What do you think about the infiltration of communism into Western democracies in order to undermine and destabilize their structures and foundations? Well, that's been happening for about 100 years. I recommend you watch, what's his name again? Norman Dodd. Norman Dodd interview with G. Edward Griffin, where he talks about this, and how Wall Street and the tax-free foundations, that's been their goal. And communism basically is the new world order. It's the elite running everything, no competition, and it's ironic and paradoxical that it's the big corporations that are involved in this. And of course, they shut up Norman Dodd. Yeah, he was in the Reese committee in the 50s, and he was warning people about that. But yeah, Norman Dodd. So I think you're right. And I also recommend Cyril Sutton. He's written a lot of books about, is it Cyril Sutton? Yeah, he wrote a lot of books about how Wall Street financed the Bolshevik Revolution. Wall Street also financed the National Socialists in Germany. And I think National Socialists and communists are all the same. They're like all collectivists. So is it Cyril Sutton? I recommend. Oh, Anthony Sutton. Sorry, Anthony Sutton. I recommend his books as well. He's written a lot about this. Yeah, no, and I agree. We have been infiltrated. If you look at the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, we're getting a lot of that now. Centralization of credit, which central banks, nationalization of education, public education, and many other things. Xavier, do you think the BOJ has a mission to save other countries' bond yields? I do, actually. That's why they're letting the yen go down the tubes, because what that does, the Japanese are big savers. They have an aging population with a lot of savings, and what the monetary policy of the BOJ is doing is forcing Japanese investors to park their funds in Western bonds, and that's you know, that's kind of stopping. And despite that, bond yields are going up everywhere in Europe and the US, and so people are selling bonds. So I would say if you see the dollar turn back down versus the yen, and the yen strengthen, and let's say the JGB yield go through that 0.25 level, you could see treasuries, gilts, bunds, BTPs, all the government bonds go down even more. Dissident agnostic, thank you for your super chat. Do you believe liberal democracy can survive a currency collapse? I don't even know what a liberal democracy means, to be honest. I personally think democracy is a bad system. Does that mean I'm an authoritarian? No, I just believe in freedom, and democracy, unfortunately, leads to currency collapse, because the problem with democracy is that it's always abused, and eventually people vote for the people who give them the most. And the only way politicians in democracy can give you something is to take it and borrow and spend. So liberal democracy is, killing the currency. So yeah, it won't. So it's probably a good thing that liberal democracy collapses with the currency. And that doesn't mean to say you can't have a free system. And because the United States, for example, is not supposed to be a democracy, it's supposed to be a republic. So there you go. So we got 8 minutes. No says mash the like button and share. Thank you, No. Rubies, thank you for your super chat. Scott 49. Why is it that investors buy bonds when the price goes up? Well, a lot of investors buy things. They usually buy things when it's going up. So it's the same thing with bonds. There you go. George Assad, Abraham Lincoln, and JFK both campaigned to remove external central bank. Look what happened to them. European central bankers financed the Civil War. You're probably right. Did you ever hear the story, the coincidences between Lincoln and JFK? Lincoln was shot in the Ford Theater, wasn't it? And then JFK was shot in the Lincoln, and their secretaries had the same name. I don't know if you heard about that. Greg also says the USA a republic, ? But we voted to steal your stuff. Well, Benjamin Franklin, apparently, when they finished the Constitutional Convention, when he came out of the meeting, there's these two ladies, and they asked him, Mr. Franklin, what have we got, a monarchy or a republic? And he said, a republic if you can keep it. So yeah, it's a tough thing, a republic, to keep it honest. Blast from the past. Do you think central bankers act ignorant about the economy? I guess they think the little guy's stupid. I think some might act ignorant, and others are actually ignorant themselves because they've been brainwashed, just like all the other economists. They're PhD economists that have been brainwashed into Keynesianism and econometrics. So I think it's a bit of both. Moonraker, do you think it's worth converting large silver bars to silver eagles? Um, I mean, it depends. If you don't have any, if you just have silver bars and no coins, maybe, yeah, maybe it's good to have some eagles and also some junk silver or constitutional, pre 65 coins. Steve, Steve Michelle's follow me here from Rumble. Yeah, I do post videos on Rumble and on BitChute, on Hive, and Steam It, and also on DTube. Yeah, Alan Zibelman, Republic fell in 1871. That the year when it became a corporation. United States in capitals, right? United States of America Corporation. Echo, Echo, what do you think of Mervyn King? He seems to have a lot of alternative views. Yeah, he does. He seems to be, I'm not saying he's a good, a great guy or something, but at least he's got some, I think he realizes that the system is screwed up. I have one of his books he wrote about 5 years ago, The Alchemy of Finance, and he said maybe we should think of making commercial banks, 100% deposit banks again. So yeah, I think he gets it, but unfortunately, only after he left the Bank of England did he see the light, so to speak. It's easier when they're retired. Harry Chu, is it true that inflation mostly affects middle class and the affluent are not greatly impacted? I would say the people that are affected the most are not just the middle class, but also the lower classes, the people who, the people on low wages that, inflation really increases their spending on things that they need to survive, like food, fuel, rent, or a mortgage. And it will impact the middle class as well. No, the wealthy, no, they actually benefit from it because they know where to park their funds. Uh, and like in third world countries or like in Latin America, where I grew up, we always had a lot of inflation. If you had dollar income and you kept your savings in dollars, you were doing well. Even today, probably a lot of people in those countries consider the dollar a strong currency. I don't, though. Bob Hunter, I want to keep my gun to protect myself from tyrannical rulers, even though I can't have one in the UK. You can buy a bow and arrow, that's legal. One more minute to go. Normal Norm says 64% of USA lives paycheck to paycheck. Around 45% have less than 1,000 in the bank. It's probably the same here in the UK and maybe even a little worse. Wasn't it the Blue Star Line, Anton? Titanic owned by JP Morgan. I think it was the White Star Line. Sorry. All right, everyone. So it's time for me to go. I thank you all for being on the live stream and for all your questions, your super chats. and I appreciate it. And if any of you are new to the channel, think about subscribing. And yeah, I'll be speaking to you tomorrow again. So take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend or the beginning of your week if you are in Asia or Australia.